Hello everyone. NVIDIA recently joined the list of the largest companies in the world with a $1 trillion market cap.
NVIDIA has overtaken Microsoft and Apple to become the world's most valuable company.
NVIDIA hits a record. NVIDIA has become the most valuable company in the world.
Only a few more tech companies in the world, Apple, Microsoft, Alphabet, the parent company of Google, Amazon, and Meta, have reached this prestigious valuation. NVIDIA started as a graphics card company to run video games that eventually pivoted towards more and more advanced chips for extremely high-end gaming and also for robotics, autonomous vehicles, and more recently for AI startups of the future. And before you ask me, how can a company that started making graphics card for video games become so popular? Here is some quick data that can help you understand it better. According to a Forbes report, the worldwide revenue of the gaming industry in 2022 was approximately 184.4 billion US dollars. Now compare this to the worldwide movie industry and the worldwide music industry. Both generated an approximate revenue of $26 billion each. So the combined revenue from the film industry and the music industry is not even half of the worldwide gaming industry. A lot of the success of NVIDIA can be attributed to its co-founder and CEO, Jensen Huang, who has been the CEO of the company ever since it was co-founded back in 1993. What started 30 years ago as an idea in a breakfast booth named Denny's by three engineers, Chris Malachowski, Curtis Priem, and Jensen Huang, is today at the forefront of AI revolution and is the backbone of ChatGPT by OpenAI. In fact, Jensen used to work in the same Denny's as a dishwasher before he started NVIDIA. That's the funny thing about time, right? It changes. But, if you think this is just another story where a few engineers made a product at the right time at the right place and everything worked out for them happily ever after, you are far, far away from the truth. Friends, what if I tell you that NVIDIA took a few wrong decisions that almost led to the failure of the company? In fact, the company was at a point where they had resources or money left only for a few more months, but absolutely no idea of how to move forward. And to top it all off, there were 89 other competitor companies doing the exact same thing with zero differentiation between their product and the rest of the competitors. So to summarize, NVIDIA was on a verge of bankruptcy due to wrong business decisions taken initially, had limited time and money, and zero differentiation between them and the 89 other competitors. But what Jensen Huang did next saved the company from its string of failures and made them a dominant force in the market as we know it today. That begs the question, how did NVIDIA go from a breakfast table to a $1 trillion business? How did Jensen Huang save NVIDIA with a genius business strategy that helped the company overcome a major failure? How a simple marketing strategy backed by strong technical support made it impossible for NVIDIA's competitors and even market leaders during that time, like Microsoft and IBM, to beat them. And lastly, what can you and I learn from this perfect combination of business strategy, marketing strategy, and leadership? Let's understand it with a simple story. Friends, this is a transistor. As some people call it, transistors are the fundamental components of modern electronics. That is because these transistors can be found in almost any electronic device that you can ever think of. Now, this small transistor can be used for two main purposes. First, as a switch, and second, as an amplifier. For example, the remote control to your TV has transistor that helps to switch on and switch off the TV, as well as change channels on the TV. Similarly, a microphone attached to a speaker has transistors that amplify the signal and therefore turn up the sound. Now, these are very basic applications of transistors. But when you multiply tens of thousands of transistors on a single chip, these can be used for bigger applications in a computer, like rendering high-quality images, high-quality videos, making video games, animations, and smooth processing of high quality content without any glitches. So, more the number of transistors per chips, better the use in these respective applications. So now that you have understood what thousands and thousands of transistors put together can do, that is the cornerstone of understanding how a graphics card works. Now you see, a graphics card speeds up the graphics processing capabilities of the computer by enabling us to watch high quality visuals, build and play these amazing video games, and even help with complex visual work like video editing and 3D modeling. Now just to give you a small comparison of how important are these graphics cards, these are the games that you play on your computers now. These were the games that you played on your computers 10 years ago. And these were the games on computers in 1990s, before the invention of graphics card. Just look at the quality of improvement side by side over the years. Astonishing, isn't it? So now we know how important a graphics card has been for the innovation in computers and for the overall progress of mankind. Okay, so the idea of having a graphics card to increase the computer's capacity was revolutionary. In fact, the engineers in what we now know as Silicon Valley were keen on improving the functional capacity of the computer in every possible manner. And so almost 90 graphics card companies got investor money to build the best possible graphics card in just a span of a few months. And the first of these companies to secure investor funding was Chris Curtis and Jensen's company, NVIDIA.
NVIDIA.
Now, although NVIDIA received an early investment, there were two fundamental problems that had to be tackled. First, there was no market for it. As in, even if NVIDIA makes graphics cards, there were not many people building games that would need such graphics card. So it was a classic chicken and egg situation. Now to tackle this situation, NVIDIA decides to make these graphics cards and integrates them in gaming consoles or computers and thinks that eventually the market will catch up. And they did just that. Now the second problem with NVIDIA was, since there was no market, there was no standardization of how these graphics cards will integrate with computers. Now to explain it with a very simple example, imagine I invented the new USB-C cable that can transfer data 10 times faster from a laptop, but unfortunately, all the laptops of the entire world uses a USB-A cable and a USB-A slot. So where will I put my USB-C cable? Now to tackle this situation, NVIDIA expected that by the time their product is out in the market, the situation would have changed. So now NVIDIA thought of themselves as the pioneers of the graphics card revolution and made their own graphics card based on their own set of rules and standards. They even partnered with Sega, which used to be competitors of Sony PlayStation back in the 1990s, to be their primary graphics card in their upcoming Sega Saturn gaming console. Now this second roadblock and its solution had one fundamental flaw. So, back in 1994, the revenue of Microsoft is around 4.6 billion US dollars. The revenue of IBM is 64 billion US dollars. And friends, do you know the revenue of NVIDIA in 1994? $0. So if tomorrow one of these companies decides, oh, graphics cards are the new boom and we are in the personal computer business, why don't we just standardize the process so that all these new graphics card companies can add them to upgrade our personal computers? They can absolutely do that. And that's exactly what happened. Microsoft standardized the process with the launch of Direct3D, an application programming interface or API specifically to handle 3D graphics and games. Now mind you, this Direct3D was not a graphics card, so it was not a threat at all. In fact, it was quite the opposite. It helped graphics card to seamlessly integrate with the PCs. But then why are we calling it a roadblock for NVIDIA? Let me explain it with a simple story. So a few friends in their car are on one side of the waterfall and they want to reach the other side of the waterfall. Now the only way they can go is with the help of this rope. Now the issue with this is, first, obviously the car cannot go. And second, for the friends, there is no protection, and if they venture by the rope, they might just slip and fall in this waterfall. Definitely a bad idea, right? But now, what if someone builds a nice bridge to cross this waterfall? Oh, simple. Then you can easily cross this waterfall without any hassle. On top of that, you don't even need to get out of the car, right? Awesome. Now let's understand. These friends are the graphics card companies and Microsoft built a bridge named Direct 3D as an intermediary so these graphics cards can seamlessly integrate with personal computers. Simply put, Microsoft standardized this entire process. But if Microsoft made it easy for all the graphics card companies to integrate with personal computers, that should help NVIDIA as well, right? Well, yeah. Except since NVIDIA began way too early, they didn't know which way to go, and therefore they ended up on a completely different waterfall. Technically speaking, NVIDIA's standards were different from those of Microsoft, and the two were not compatible. And since they were way too early, they proceeded with their own standards, and the remaining 89 competitor companies that started later followed Microsoft's standards. And eventually, NVIDIA's deal with Sega was also discontinued because Sega Saturn was not a major hit like Sony PlayStation. And second, Sega did not want to partner with a graphics card company which was not compatible with any other gaming consoles or computers in the market. This was the big roadblock. NVIDIA had invested all its money, resources, and skills and technology into making these incompatible graphics cards, and the co-founders found themselves helpless, from pioneers to the last ones in line. They hardly had a few more months of operating money left. That is when Jensen Huang took the critical call of following Microsoft's standards, just like everyone else. This meant that the previously made graphics cards worth $250,000 were rendered useless. Now, if we calculate in terms of inflation between 1995 and today, that would be more than $500,000 worth of goods suddenly rendered useless. And to top it all off, the company was already struggling with money. But even with this critical call of following Microsoft's standards, NVIDIA wouldn't make these new compatible graphics cards in time, because the turnaround time to make these graphics cards was at least 2 years. And again, NVIDIA hardly had a few months worth of money left before they completely ran out of cash. See, NVIDIA is a fabless company, or a company with no fabrication. These companies just design the product, send it to a foundry, which is a company with only a dedicated production line who would make samples based on the designs given by this fabless company and send the products back. This back and forth of designing and getting the product right, finalizing a product, manufacturing the product, and shipping it took an approximate time of almost 2 years. And by that time, NVIDIA would have run out of business. So to overcome the problem of time and money, Jensen Huang had to think differently than 89 other companies, and hence he came up with a different idea. He decided to use a technology which was not very common, to emulate the design of graphics card by software. I'll explain. So while the normal procedure is, like I explained, NVIDIA simply emulated or imitated how a design will behave just on their software, finalized the chip design, and sent the finalized chip design to foundry company for manufacturing. Now this process of emulation was still new, and therefore no other company dared to do it. But NVIDIA pretty much had their backs against the wall, and the only option was to go big or go home. Now, did you just see how many steps were reduced in the process, and what was the result? NVIDIA overcame the problem of time and money. In fact, they saved so much time that while the turnaround time for other companies was 18 to 24 months, NVIDIA put out new designs called Riva 128 in just as less as 6 months. This gave them an edge over other competitors and eventually led the race that they had almost once lost. Now, this process of reinventing the strategy, not the product, reinventing the strategy, helped NVIDIA survive even in the next few years. After Riva series of graphics card came the Geometry Force or GeForce 256 GPUs or graphics processing units. Now, calling these GeForce 256 as graphics processing units and not just graphics cards is an engineering plus marketing marvel. But to explain it in a simple language, NVIDIA wanted to get out of, first, competing with those 90 graphics card companies time and again, and second, get out of that entire commodity business and be associated with the innovation business. So after the Riva series, they made a graphics card which was at least 5 times more powerful than any graphics card in the market and launched the GeForce 256. But to stand out, they called this graphics card GPU. Companies like Intel were on the verge of integrating a graphics cards directly in their personal computers. By calling it a GPU, NVIDIA gave their product the same status as a CPU in a computer. Now GPU became synonymous to high-end graphics and synonymous to NVIDIA. Intel did try to make their own line of GPUs, but they heavily failed. This is how a company that was months away from shutting down took one battle at a time. While they won some battles, they barely survived the other battles. But the net benefit after almost 30 years is that NVIDIA won. This is how a company that was months away from shutting down turned their fortune. So what are the lessons for us in this story of NVIDIA? First, while today we know NVIDIA became a $1 trillion company because of its GPUs supporting the AI race and ChatGPT, as a business student, you have to focus on the ability of Jensen Huang to reinvent the company as if it was a startup with new product lines and new strategies as per the changing market needs. If NVIDIA had simply continued to make graphics cards just for the next 5 years after their first series was hit in 1997, the company wouldn't have survived beyond 20th century. And second, I am a movie buff and this is a movie monologue that fits perfectly for Jensen Huang and his journey at NVIDIA. Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place. And I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That is how winning is done. Thank you so much everyone. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please press the like button because it gives me the motivation to keep going. Share your thoughts in the comments and please subscribe to the channel. And for awesome business content, keep watching The Better Company.